Ciao, guys. Welcome back to the Climb Along podcast. My name is John.
My name is Ira.
And today we're going to be talking about how to set goals as a family. And this is very important because setting goals as a family is important when it comes to being in unity with one another in your decisions, in your ideas, and in your visions and plans. In the Bible, it talks about how without a plan, people fail, or without a plan, the people perish. And then in the military, it talks about how if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And you see this a lot recently when it comes to divorces and people going their own ways.
Yeah, I think my friend and I were recently discussing how there are just the couples, and again, I don't think this is like the reason for their divorce, but you know, since they are like in the more popular, I guess, social eye, they of course share a certain part of the story, but it would become popular to share that, oh, you know, we just were going at a different pace, or we were just pursuing different things, we're just very different. And I feel like if you really like break it down, like that sounds to me like, you know, we did not have our goals aligned. They probably were never aligned. Maybe they were aligned when we were in love, you know, in the first year of marriage or whatever. But, you know, that's what it sounds like, that like they just didn't have the long-term goals for their family or their priorities set. And, you know, throughout the time, they just started pursuing different things.
Exactly. And when you pursue different things, of course, you start to split off from one another. And what God said, what God has brought together, let man not separate. So you must always be in union with each other. And that brings up the question, like, how do you navigate if your spouse has something different, right? Well, patience and empathy. Sometimes all it takes is prayer and a bit of just waiting until you guys are aligned.
Yeah, and it's crazy how much we would forget how powerful prayer is, and how, you know, God is hearing us. You know, He's there to hear us when we pray for our spouse. Like there would be numerous times when, you know, I would hear some idea from you, and I would be like, I don't really think that's a good idea, like in terms of like, I don't know, just whatever it can be. But I would pray about it because, you know, it's not necessarily something that that is like straight up like wrong, you know. It's just something I don't think I would want for our family, that, you know, or for you. And I would just pray, and then, you know, and like in a few days you come back and you're like, you know what, that wasn't really a good idea. So yeah, it's definitely like not forgetting the power of prayer and being patient from both sides. You know, if you are the one bringing the idea, and you know your spouse best, you know the things that are gonna make them be like, oh, I'm not sure I'm ready for that, you know, life change or that decision. But just being patient and being like, hey, this is just something on my mind. I want you to know that I'm thinking about it. I want you to know that I'm planning for it. And I want to discuss it. So yeah, and having a lot of communication and discussions.
Exactly. One thing that the devil loves most is to divide families. One thing that God loves to do is bring together their covenant bearing family. So if there's two separate ideas, wait it out. The Lord will bring it together. If you try to make ideas or do actions with haste, you're playing into the hands of Satan, the world, and your flesh.
Yeah, and I think as well, moving to our next little topic, it's really helpful when you're working on, you know, bringing different ideas into your relationship and just different goals. It's important to have your big 5 goals. This is the idea that we got from Now That We're a Family podcast.
Shout out.
Yes, we love them. But it's really helpful to just narrow down those top 5 values that you together have as a husband and wife, and to be able to, you know, align your ideas and your goals towards those, you know, those foundations of your relationship or so.
Every idea, every goal that you have must filter down to these top 5. We'll tell a little bit about our top 5. Our big 5 is God, family, community, health and fitness, and continual growth. And continual growth is career is in continual growth. Hobbies are in continual growth. So even career and hobbies and traveling is in subjection to our big four. So it is important to be able to set these 5 foundations down in order so that communication and goal setting is seamless.
Yeah, and sometimes when you really have just these, and again, it's so easy to have it narrowed down to 5. You don't have to go through like a list of 20 different things.
Right.
But just having those top priorities, and whenever you're thinking, like, let's say about career, because that's something that's on our mind recently.
Yes.
Whenever you're thinking about those, you can just look at like, okay, does this align with, I don't know, time with family, which is a higher priority than, continual growth.
Yes.
And if it doesn't, like if that career doesn't align, like we shouldn't waste our time on even like, discussing it and trying to run these ideas with each other. It's like, it's good for your mind to be able to go to a place that can narrow down your options and point you to the right direction for your family and yourself.
Exactly. Now, how do you find your own top 5? Whatever solid values you have, whether it's some people may value traveling a lot more than we do, or some people may value fitness a lot more than we do, or some people really love their careers or want careers to be something that they focus on. Whatever is the top values, the top foundations for your life, add them to your top 5, and then filter out any decisions through that. Now, we're going to move on. What type of goals do we set? Well, the type of goals that we should set is always these big things that will always constantly move your life in a drastic way. Financial, family, church, career, and location. So first things first, financial. We just went through a video talking about how to be financially secure in your 20s. And one of the important things for financial is because you have to make decisions on whether you guys are going to buy a house, how much is in your emergency fund, are you guys going to travel abroad this year, how many subscriptions do we have? So financial is a huge thing that needs to be just thought about as a family.
Yeah, and again, looking at different statistics, like financial issues are some of the biggest reasons for divorce, I think, in the US or so. But yeah, it's important to be on the same page, and it's beautiful to see how much, when you are on the same page, how much easier it is to reach those financial goals.
Right.
Because of course, as a family, as a couple, you are going to have goals to reach. Either it's, again, getting things that you want to budget for, like some bigger items, or maybe it's like paying off debt, or just whatever you want to do. You don't want to be doing it by yourself, like in a marriage, and kind of have one person go one way, the other person pull backwards, and it's just this like back and forth, tug of war. So I think it's really important to narrow down on this one.
Next is family. That has to include everything when it comes to your current family with you, the husband and wife, your children. How many children do you guys want to have? How are you going to raise those children? Will you adopt more children? Will you need to stop having children in order so that you can steward your time and finances well? But also, it also goes into the category of your in-laws now. Your mom and dad on your side or on her side are now your extended family, not your immediate family. And your immediate family takes precedence over anything, except God, of course.
And there's so much you can like look through. Again, in all of these categories, because everybody's going to have different priorities. I would think as well, for somebody, maybe a priority to live near family, like your extended family, for your kids to live near your extended family. So just, again, be aligned on those and really discuss those, and, pray if you aren't aligned, because you really want to be having, the same mind in these
Yeah.
decisions.
Right. Next thing is church. The reason being because a good community and a good church can hold the family accountable, and you will grow as a family in general. Your kids are going to have amazing friends, and just husbands will be brought up with other godly men. Wives will be able to be brought up with other godly women, and it's just overall a great time. You could be poor but have a great community, and you'd be able to weather any storm. You could be rich and be in a place that you have not a good community and feel like you're isolated, like on an island, even though you're in a huge place.
Yeah, for example, for us, a good church community helps us narrow down like where are we going to move in the near future.
Yeah.
It's like, we could go to this big city and it has like these and these benefits, but we don't know any good church there. Or we could go to this small city that we know a great church that we know we're going to grow in. So yeah, that helps again narrow down on how to make that decision.
Right. And if you're trying to look for what things do I need to look for in a church, we also made a video on that too on the podcast. Next up is career. So
Big one.
career is a big one. Not as big as the other ones, but it is a big one. Because let's just say I made a lot of career decisions, or at least thought that I was going to make these career decisions in a vacuum. Earlier on when we were dating, I wanted to be a helicopter pilot, combat rescue helicopter pilot, or an F-22 pilot in the Air Force. But as we grew in our relationship, we found that just those career fields were not tangible, or were not good for family life, or at least for our family life, because it just didn't hit our big five.
Yeah, it wasn't aligning with the family portion of our big five, and just the family dynamic and just how it would affect daily life. Yeah.
Now it may be different for you guys.
Yeah.
I know that we have a friend who is a pilot, and the wife is a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids, and they do it well. He goes on TDYs and deployments, and I know you've asked how do you do it, and she just responds, just used to it.
Yeah, everybody would have different priorities in that, and again, as long as you align on that with your spouse, as long as it works for your family, you can be having very different goals than we do,
Exactly.
and that drives your direction in your life.
Yes. Next one, the type of goal you should set is location, on where you guys are going to live. I know that our 5-10 year plan location is going to be in Europe, Lord willing, someday. But at this current moment in time, when we're trying to transition out from military into civilian life, we have to find a location back in the States until I finish seminary. And that's something that we both needed to talk, okay, where would we want to go?
Yeah, when you have so many options, like the States is like vast in terms of, climate you want to live in, like, I don't know, state.
Income tax.
Everything, all of the details. But we also would run that through just what are our goals in it. Like, we love hiking, and we could go, we love Florida, but, we really just would love to be mountains. Like, somewhere where there's some type of mountains.
Yes.
Yeah, so again, that's our personal family priorities.
Yes.
But it's so helpful to narrow down on, okay, you know what? We don't really have that many states. If we put like this specific feature we're looking for.
Yes.
And, what each of us needs. I'm like, I don't really like, I don't know.
The Midwest.
I wanted to say like in terms of weather I'm like, I don't know how I feel about like tornadoes, fire tornadoes, something like that. So, it's like, okay, let's choose somewhere a little safer from that. But again, different priorities. But
I know that the reason why we chose closer to East Coast is because we want to be able to have that chance and ability to visit your family in Ukraine. But if we were to have been in the Midwest or West Coast, it'll be that much more expensive to fly over back to Europe. And we have a lot of friends in Europe too, and that also takes part into the decision of where we're going to live. Yeah,
community, which is on top. Before location.
Everything's interconnected. So now we're going to get into how we do the planning, or more specifically, what 3 categories of planning should you plan with these different goals that you have. So we have long-term planning, mid-term planning, and short-term planning. So we're going to start with long-term planning. When it comes to long-term planning, we have this this quote from this Japanese CEO or founder that we still need to get his name because we've been mentioning it several times. But the CEO founder of Toyota has talked to its employees and its board members. Where do we want this company to be in 5-10 years and leave a legacy? They don't even do annual planning, not that I know of. But it's important to have that 5-10 year time span so that you have that that goal that you can reach for in the future. Because all other goals, the annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly goals, will line up towards that 5-10 year. And it's basically just asking the question, what does our ideal life look like? And then plan around that.
Yeah, it's more about like just fun dreaming because again, it's farther away. And of course, we're not like saying random dreams and like, I want to be a multi-billionaire or something like, we're not talking about like unrealistic, but, dreams can still it can still be something realistic, but that is farther away that, maybe we don't see how to get there yet. Maybe we don't have a step by step, but it is something fun for us to discuss and be like, where would you want to be,
Yes.
And I think that's how we came to our like long-term goals. And I feel like it's really helpful for a family to have those bigger dreams that, you're going to use to align your shorter term goals.
Yes. And that takes us to midterm planning. Our midterm planning, in order to have goals set out, we start breaking it down into annual, yearly goals, and even quarterly goals. But first, I'll talk about the yearly goals. One of our most beautiful traditions that we have every single year is we go to a cafe, whether it's up in the mountains or down here, and we just talk with one another where what do we see in the next upcoming year that we're excited for and are ready to, take on, whether it's finances, whether it's different trips, whether it's schooling, career, all those type of changes.
Yeah, it's really fun to just discuss like, our goals for the year. It's kind of like, how people do their like what I want to achieve in this next year, like things to focus on. But this is more just like for your family, the things that you're going to be working on together. You can have your own separate goals that you like bring in as well. But this is just something that like we would be able to look back on and be like, oh, we're working towards this financial goal. That's why we're doing this, and this.
Right.
Yeah, keeping you two on the same track and the same things to pursue.
Exactly.
And I think you definitely brought the great point to our planning for the year is that you try to bring in like a goal that is bigger.
Yes.
I mean, if certain goals can't be quantified, it's just like a straight up goal. But something like financial, for example, it's like, oh, we want to reach this point in our finances, but it can be something bigger. Like you usually love to put it bigger than what we can achieve so that, it's like not being scared to, not achieve that goal, but also have something bigger to shoot for because, maybe that's going to motivate you to actually excel in that goal.
Yeah, exactly. That is spot on, my love. Next part of the midterm planning is quarterly. We're not currently doing this right now, but we want to do this. So most corporations' strategic planning is happening around the quarterly goals. And it's important because you're able to break down that large annual long-term planning and break it into 3-month or 4-month chunks. So it's important to be able to break that down so that, especially in a very volatile season that has a lot of shifting and changes, a 3-month outlook is a lot easier to quantify or easier to track rather than a annual thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to feel like overwhelming because, you can listen to this and be like, okay, I gotta sit down and break it down to 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, quarters. But in reality, like we haven't been doing the quarterly planning, but like intentionally. But when we look back on the last 2 years of our marriage, we actually kind of happen to do it anyways, maybe not quarterly, but happen to just have those little times in the year when we have to kind of reset the structure of our daily lives or so, because it's either some trips came up, like I had to leave and we had to do long distance, and then I come back and then we reintegrate our lives back together to like the dynamics of your days change and the goals and financial goals, all of that. So it's actually, if you look at it, like you may not be able to, or you may not need to have quarterly meetings together. But even if you know that there is a season coming up in the next year where it'll be a little more hectic or a little different than the rest of the year, trying to plan before that season, like how do we plan out that season, and also meeting after that season passes, and talking how do we go on with the rest, let's say more relaxed portion of the year. So right now we did not plan for it necessarily, like in the beginning of the year, but now we kind of had like a meeting. We just again, it's not really always official and it doesn't have to be. But we just would talk with each other. It should be fun. We would just like have those talks with each other. That's like, okay, we're gonna have a baby, we're gonna have our days look different, like you're gonna be on parental leave, and like our days are not gonna be the same. Like what do we need to prioritize? What do we need to work on in this season? How is it gonna look day-to-day life? So it's kind of naturally comes by itself, just those plannings for shorter seasons of the year.
Exactly. Now we're gonna go into the last part of the different plannings, which is short-term planning. That's when we ask the questions, what do we have this month? Or what do we have for this week? It's very self-explanatory. For the month, we're able to envision out what type of appointments we have, and also like what type of trips that we would like to have, what type of things that we would like to relax, like events that we would like to relax, or the different events that we see coming up, whether it's through the church or through career-wise, and we plot it, and then we revisit that weekly on a Sunday morning or in the beginning of the week, and we write it on a cute little board, and so that even when you have meetings with people and I have meetings with people, at least we're aligned, knowing that, hey, you have somewhere to go, I have somewhere that I can shift my schedule to, so that at the end of the day, even though it's two separate things that you guys are doing, you guys are aligned.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if maybe it is common sense. It seems like common sense to me, and just respect towards your spouse, to just, warn each other. It's like, hey, I have this coming up, usually I would be home at this time, but actually I wouldn't on this day, so that, the other spouse can just plan for that time, maybe, doing some extra work, or maybe doing an outing with a friend too. Like, I think it's so respectful, because I don't ever want you to like come home and be like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm going to be back in 4 hours or something like that. I just feel like that is not respectful, and it doesn't respect the time of the other person. So, and it's kind of like you're on the same page. It's like you're a company working together to make your processes as efficient as possible for the greater benefit of each member.
Exactly. Well, so that's how you do the different plannings, long-term, mid-term, short-term. Now, I take it a little bit of a step further and I do vision boarding. And I know a lot of people would say that vision boarding is only for females. A lot of people cut up the little magazines and post it up on a tiny little like cork board, just like this over here. But I love seeing, I love visualizing just because you're able to put something tangible or something visual on a goal rather than just being on paper. You can have it on paper because that's one of the ways that you can do vision boarding is just writing it in a notebook. But I love putting it in a PowerPoint or using Figma Jam with different photos of a certain goal so that it helps me fixate on, okay, that's where I want to be at. That's the type of state that I want my family to be at. And the photo could be something as simple as a coffee shop and that brings up to mind that like, hey, maybe we should have a cafe business someday, or like a photo of a pastor or like a big family. It's like, we would like to have a big family someday. And then it motivates us to look towards that image so that we can strive after it.
Yeah, and it's true how like so much of our brain works on just, visual, like in seeing things, and sometimes we can hear things, but then until you see it actually, it kind of doesn't like set in your brain. I was thinking about our friends recently were telling us that their family, like them and their kids, they started writing down prayers. I feel like kind of like matches with the topic. They started writing down prayers, and whenever it would be answered in whatever way, they would be scratching it out so that both them and the kids can see the prayers that were answered. And I think it's so beautiful because, like, we know, for example, in that same example of a prayer, we know that that prayer was answered. Thanks to God. But then in reality, like, you forget about it after a while, but let's say you have like that notebook, that visual form, and you look back and you're like, oh wow, there's like pages upon pages of answered prayer, and that kind of the same with the goals of like, we are able to look back on the previous PowerPoints from the previous years, and there would be like, little check marks on certain different photos of our like inspiration board for the goals of the year.
Yeah, and the more you complete stuff, at the end of the day, these vision boards should serve as a way to give glory to God and give us gratitude in what He has done in our lives and the things that we were able to accomplish. Because apart from Him, you're not able to complete any of those goals whatsoever. So having those photos, and one other thing, just a lot of people create these like New Year resolutions, but they don't constantly check up on their New Year resolution, and it usually goes to the wayside. I think it was like 95% of New Year's resolutions dissipate after week 3 of January. But the reason why we've been able to at least complete 50%, or I think there was in 2023 we were able to complete like 75% of our goals because we were able to track it with photos, with the things that we've talked through together, and constantly doing the short-term, mid-term planning, and visual things really help and give glory to God at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's again talking about planning and just setting goals, especially like, I don't know, even just daily goals, but as well like the long-term goals. I think it's really important to remember that, ultimately we try to align our goals with what the Lord wants for us, through prayer. I think you were mentioning the verse from James.
Yes, in the James it talks about how it's a woe to those who who say to themselves that they go into such and such a town, going there make a profit. But then the Lord says, if the Lord wills, you shall go there to such and such a town and profit. So at the end of the day, if we plan and that's not the way that the Lord wanted us to do that certain thing, then glory be to God. That's his prerogative. That's his ways. His ways are higher than our ways.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be planning or just sit and be like, I'm just going to wait till the next moment, because idleness is not honoring God either. So just having an open hand in all of your plans and a lot of prayer and
and to be transparent with you guys, this is about the fourth time we tried recording this specific podcast, but because of it, the Lord was glorified, because we learned some new technical things in order to make this process a lot better for you guys. Well, that's all we have for planning.
Thank you for listening.
And the next episode, we're going to talk about why we're leaving the military. So stay tuned for that. Ciao, guys.
Bye.